Welcome, listeners, to this Speaking from Our Hearts podcast episode, where I'm joined today by a lady, Liv Ronglen, from Norway, all the way from Norway. And Liv's going to be talking to us today around how to transform the power of anger. So, Liv, very, very warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
Tell us more, the power of anger.
Well, I've always had a lot of energy in my body, my soul. When I was little, I was high and low and running all and screaming and very loud kid. And I was raised between two brothers. So I think all my energy and all my loudness. I think my mom was a little afraid that was too much and that could, harm the environment. And I don't know what, but she kept, wanting to slow me down and wanting to shut me down. And so my energy kind of, and I, of course, as a kid, you conform, you want to fit in and you want to please your parents. So I think I shut down a lot of my energy, which was the fire energy. We have different types, and some are more to air and water. But my primer power is fire. The sign, and so it's fire energy. And when that's shut down, it comes to a point where it turns. I think it turns into anger. At least it did for me, and. Being raised between two brothers as well, I remember so much. I felt I had to fight a little bit between the two. Yeah, I felt they were teaming up and they were teasing me. And since this anger, this fire came bursting out, but it turned out to be anger, to be this, I was always told, oh yeah, she has so much temper, because I could suddenly just explode when I felt that, I hadn't been able to express my power and my fire in other ways. So I, for example, one time I came home from a cross-country skiing tour, and it was something my younger brother said to me, and I took whatever it was, and I was so fed up with all that, and I was so angry. I took something that was just close to me. That was an orange. It was the first thing I saw, and I threw the orange, just threw it through the room in his face, and it just broke. So that was me. I was exploding in this, the fire power that I had inside that hadn't been able to find its place.
Can I just come in there, Liv, for a moment? Yes. And you've mentioned energies such as fire, water. Do you just want to take a minute just to kind of give a brief insight into, because some listeners may not be quite aware of what this fire, this water, this kind of stuff is that you're talking about. Do you want to give us just a brief insight around what that is?
Okay, well, what I've learned is that we're all, it's all the elements, the natural elements that we are all part of, the air, the water, the fire, and the earth, these four earthly elements, ballistic elements. And the air, you have a certain characteristic, and I know most of it from the fire. I've not gone so deeply into the other. But I know I've also quite a lot of air in me, and the fire for me it represents really the doing energy, or it can also transform. That means when something it's burning, it really transforms the elements really fast. So for me, the fire energy, the fire represents a very powerful creative source. It's very creative, and it has this essence of transforming other elements. You can, you know, a tree, or a wood, you know, it can just immediately get into ashes, and from ashes it can grow something new. And also when we do healing work, we can bring in a fire, something that can help us actually transform that energy that's being healed or coming out from a healing, with burning. You know, you can burn, or you can get a sage leaves and burn it, and it will, you know, the smoke and the fire will actually transform more easily the energy that needs to be transformed. So yeah, so for me, this fire energy has a lot of power and has a lot of possibility to transform, and it has a lot of creativity in it. So that's for me, yeah, a good way to look at how we're all built of various energies, various parts of the nature. Yeah.
Is it fair to say, Liv, that individually we have a predominant or a main energy, which may be fire, it may be water, it may be earth, it may be whatever, but that's naturally who we are. But because of life circumstances, we find ourselves actually adopting the role of another predominant energy, or is that not the case?
Well, it could be, you know, absolutely. You're right that at least how I see it, that there's usually one of the four that you, that are more predominantly or more powerful in you, and that you naturally are more, to say it, you feel more at ease in that energy, you know, because that's what you really, you know, what your soul nature has is more made of, you know.
Yeah.
And also, as we are all, you know, equally bits of the puzzle in this big universal weave, or, you know, the puzzle of the universe. It's all equal, but we have to play our role to be as much true to ourselves as we can to fill that puzzle that you are. And so we're not supposed to adapt to others, just look and say, oh, she's so nice, she's like that, and I want to be like that. Or she gets so much attention from everyone, so I want to be like her. Maybe I can get as much attention. You diminish your light, and you diminish, so you're not as true to yourself. And I think for many years, I think the fire energy, especially in women, but I don't know, maybe you have also some experiences around that, Paul, because I think that the fire energy can come up too much for the society in a way. You know, it sometimes it is felt like too much in school, for example, when you sit on your little chair, and, you know, for me, I think that the school system as it is today and has been, it's really not healthy for kids, not for the various, I mean, even the air and the water and the earth element, the strong kids will suffer a little bit. But I think for the fire people, you know, it's really not a place you want to be, because it's so limited. You can't express yourself in all what you have in that setting. So I think, yeah, when we have this the way the society wants us to be, and how it's played around, I think that you suffer a little bit by having that much fire.
and that's why I asked that question, Liv, because I know we spoke when we first met a couple of weeks ago or whatever it was around this anger theme, and we'll get back on track with that in a moment. But I think this is fascinating, and there's certainly some key learning because we shared, didn't we, at that first conversation around how our respective lives had been, and certainly mine was very anger driven, very violent. Because that's the behaviour I learned as from a very, very early age. That was my model of the world. That's what I understood. It was called survival. What I did is actually carry that model on into the world, into adulthood, and I carried it on for decades. That was the reality of my world. So in terms of and as we're speaking, Liv, I'll actually go in on a resource there on my phone and have a look at this kind of dynamic. Won't interrupt the flow of our conversation because I do want to keep this focused on anger because I know there's some great learning there for listeners. But I found myself living a lie. And that's why I ask you the question, is it possible for us to, I don't know, be predominantly adopt that focus, energy of fire when actually that's not really who we are at our true core self. And I can personally sort of say that fire is a label. Oh yeah, I'm fiery, and put out this aggressive persona and this energy. What it was really doing was it was a masquerade. It was a protection mask to say, please don't come too close to me because I'm vulnerable, I'm hurting, I'm insecure, and it won't take much to tip me over the edge. And I've been tipped over the edge a few times. So this whole kind of facade of being fiery, and it was a lie. It was an absolute lie. And that's why I asked you that question. So flipping back onto the anger then, Liv, how did, obviously you've shared with us, the early influences of, your childhood with your two brothers and how throwing oranges. I think they want to be grateful it was only an orange. Where I come from, it was knives. Knives and bottles. But anyway, that's another story. So how did that then carry on? Because when we learn that behaviour from an early age, Liv, isn't it true that we take that through with us? As I certainly did, and I know from the countless people I've spoken to with challenges, normally that kind of source is from that childhood, that learned behavior, that habit, that way of being. So how did yours then sort of unfold from childhood into adolescence and then into adulthood?
Well, I think what I did was that, and it's true, I mean, you live a little bit, not necessarily on a lie, but you live on others' expectations to you. At least I did. And what first started was, and my first reaction to this was that I became a rebel. And I wanted to rebel, especially towards my mom. So I did everything that she didn't want me to do. So she didn't want me to, to go out abroad and be a travel guide, for example, or go to the States when I was 17. I wanted just to get out, So what it brought to me when I look at it in retrospective, what that, that I didn't feel I could be myself especially towards her, made me discover the world, because I was then became a rebel. That was my defense mechanism or whatever. That was my action. I became a rebel and I wanted to do everything that so that brought me to a really adventurous life. I went to the States when I was 17 and stayed with a family there in North Carolina. I started university, but then I dropped that because I wanted to see more of the world. So I went out to be a travel guide, and I used this also, I think, to say, okay, so I will show them, in a way that what I can do, and it became that kind of action, and I really loved what I did, but in a way I was also kind of doing it on the wrong, how do you say, not from the right place, you know.
Yeah.
And I became, you know, I went into management, and I went to Geneva, and I had my family with me, and I was really, you know, high up in management. But what you meet when you get high up in management is strong power games, you know, you meet power games. And that I couldn't take, because my soul is really naive. I'm really a naive person, you know, like I do trust people really, you know, without measures, more or less. And then if you're not careful, you can be really hurt. And so I became, you know, because I was on this, so I had come really high up in management, but the power games that was there got me really sick. And so I started then to really dig in, you know, what is this? You know, I'm really on the side of my soul. You know, I've, you know, fought, you know, I've become this strong lady because of my brothers and of course of this rebel, but I haven't, you know, I'm not using my heart and my soul. And so I felt really off, you know, and I really became so sick. I became physically sick, and I was off work for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and I started doing yoga. You know, I was really just, how can I get back into my true self? So it was that, you know, I was really to an edge of my, how do you say, my other way, or my way of coping. And that brought me into something where I really started soul searching and started to discover my true self, which made me quit my job and do really other things for a while, which was really necessary.
This is fascinating, Liv, because what's emerging here for me in this conversation is something that seems to be emerging almost, well, consistently to a conversation now with certainly with podcast guests around this, if I'm hearing you correctly, around this confusion between this spiritual substance and this practical perception of I need to be, this externally driven influence of you know, you will do this, you will do that, you need to do that, or I need to do this. You know, I call them silver trinkets. They're out there. I need to have a top job. I need to be in power. I need to dominate. I need to be a leader, and all this stuff. And I did that for years, Liv. For no other reason now, I understand, peeling back the layers to masquerade that underlying insecurity. I couldn't even face myself internally. And that is where everything, you know, you can run away as far as you want, and you can get your 5-bedroom villa, you can have your yacht, you can have this, the wealth, and all that show out there that says, look at me, I'm successful. But if it's not inside, forget it, because it'll only sort of fall away. So it's interesting how, as I say, I'm having this conversation regularly now with people, very regularly, around this kind of dilemma, this challenge, this confusion around, you know, I think Tim Galway sort of put on a different context, but he referred to the inner game of tennis, where this 1 minute we're doing that, and I think that prevails in all our lives, around the spiritual substance, the practical perception. I think it's so easy now just to look back, Liv, and say, actually, it was never a competition. But you don't know what you don't know. And at the time, you know, being that number one, getting first, win at all costs, I will lead, I will do, you know, all those I, me, you realise, I think, as you get more spiritually aware, and as you grow older and mature generally, I think you just think, what's the point? Why do I do all this? Because I've got a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or a nice car on this. That car's got no emotion. It doesn't give me any love. It gives me status, but that can come and go. That changes like the weather. So was I right in sort of, you know, was I empathizing correctly there, Liv, in terms of what I've just said? Did that resonate with you? Was that kind of, you know, is that a reflection of what was going on?
Well, a little bit. I was never into very much of the big houses and the cars and all that, but I wanted to have influence, and I still do, but in another way. You know, I want, because I was in the humanitarian business, I was in the Red Cross, and I chose the Red Cross because I really, you know, my heart really wanted to help, you know, to be someone who would help people, who would, you know, be able to help people who didn't have much, or who were in crisis. But I found myself, you know, in I didn't feel at all that I was helping anyone because I was in the management position. Even though I think I was an okay manager. I am a people person, so I was an okay manager. But I was, you know, when you don't feel you're true to yourself, it just doesn't work, you know. It's just a farce. It's just something that happens, and like, yeah, you can say someone wants to show off with the cars, but I just think, yeah, I wanted to, I don't know, I wanted to, yeah, to have influence and to be able to lead, but in a way that, you know, I couldn't take all of that stuff that was in that position, you know, in that management. That's when I saw really what, at that time, you know, when everyone was fighting because we were reorganizing the headquarters in Geneva, and there were, you know, someone's going to let lose something and gain some, you know, and then this power game started, and that's when I realized who I really was, because I couldn't take it. I could not play that game. You know, my soul could not play that game. I was too naive, or too, I don't know. And that's when I got really sick, you know, because then I really met my outer me, or my inner me met. And, you know, it was just the inner me, I think, just then took over and said, just quit, you know, you can't do this. This is hurting you. It was hurting my soul, you know, that power game. And I learned so much from that crisis. It was really you know, went into the wall, whatever. I learned so much because I really had to go all the way into, you know, the little child of me that was in there, and look at her and see, okay, little Liv, what is, you know, how is this, you know, what would you like to do? And she just wanted to play, and she wanted to, you know, be active with her body, and, you know, so, but I had to really go and find her and say, okay, so let's go together, let's play. And so it was a very steep learning curve, but a very important one. And after that, that's when I started to transform the fire energy into something really powerful. Because that when I came back from Geneva, and I had, you know, I really realized I was still, you know, that's when I took a position where actually I had a boss that I couldn't cope with. So that's when I really said, okay, now I have to do serious transformation now, because this is not working for me. And so that's when I started really on this spiritual way, where I actually, got into something called Leadership by Heart, where we really look into our soul, and when Transform started, when energy transforming started, I had so much sound that wanted to get out. It was incredible, and in this safe surroundings, you know, when someone is holding you in transformation, you can just do whatever. And he said to me, you know, my mentor at that time, he said to me, just let it come out as it wish, you know, let your soul speak or sing or whatever. And I came out with so much sound. It was incredible. And it was sound, it was singing, and it was shouting, and it was whatever. And I let it just do it. And I could feel my whole body transform. It was physically transformation. I felt my body shift. It was incredible. It was really incredible. And that's when I felt, oh my God, what power we have inside. What incredible power we have if we just, you know, in a positive way, when we let it flow in that form it's supposed to be, or it wants to come out. not in the control form. So yeah, so that's why I said, you know, how much power it is behind anger, or a lot of our other, you know, feelings, or what you can sense you have inside. It's beyond measures. It's so big.
I love what you said there, Liv, about that little girl, and that's an example that I use when working with people around, you know, that little boy, that little girl. Let her go out and play in the wellies when it's raining and jump in the puddles, and, you know, just this innocence of this inner child that we all still have, despite, you know, the advancing years of our adulthood and all the, you know, the plasters that have been stuck up on us, of these labels of you are this, you are that, I expect this, you should do that, and all this limiting stuff that, you know, we embraced for many years and believe it is actually us. So what I love there, Liv, that contrasting example about as you've progressed, you know, to be this sort of free, liberated spirit now, this heart-centered person, the true Liv, if you will. In that contrast to that, dare I say, you used a word, and I'm going to challenge you on that word in a loving, respectful way. You used the word naive.
Mm.
I cannot and do not accept it's naive. I think what we have is that it brings in that question of duality, because as soon as we make a statement like, you know, I am a young girl, you're also offering a contra statement of I am not an old woman. So it's the yin and the yang. So for every statement you make, today it's daytime, so it's not nighttime. The shopping bag is heavy, so it's not light. You know, there's this constant duality in our life once we stick a label to something. So that's, I think, what is massively powerful there for me, Liv, what you said around this little girl wanting to play, and the way she's emerged into this like soulful spirit. I would say she's not naive. I would say she's immensely powerful. Immensely powerful, because she's got the wisdom of her higher self to actually protect that little girl within her. It's almost like I've got a little brother within inside me, and he's, you know, he likes to play, and he likes to, you know, I don't know, play football in the street and kick a tin can around, or whatever it is, you know, all these innocent things that children do and explore and whatever. So I kind of embrace that little boy inside me and say, you know what, you go and play, because part of my world and my understanding around duality, and it's all wrapped up in awareness, I can observe that situation. So on a human level, when the little boy wants to play up and get angry and frustrated, because that's called being human, you know what? That's okay. That's okay, but don't let it hang around for too long. Just as we might say, live to our own children when they're young and they're, you know, the tantrums kick in and whatever. It's like, okay, stop that. That's not acceptable behaviour, and we challenge that lovingly and respect. And so, why do we not do that to ourselves? And that's around having that awareness. I learned this a few years ago when I was in the sort of seminar, Deepak Chopra seminar, and the question was asked of him, do we ever get to the stage where we're sorted? And he said, well, what's this word? What do you mean by sorted? I think he knew what we meant. And his answer was, no, because it's wrapped up in awareness, and awareness and consciousness, they're ever increasing. They're infinite, aren't they? They're infinite. So you're never going to catch that and sort that one. But we raise that. But what he said was, and I believe this, we learn to catch it. So if we get angry and we get frustrated, it's fine. Okay, observe. Paul, you're starting again, aren't you? Catch it. And have a word with that little boy or that little girl that's feeling lonely, vulnerable, fearful. I think that's the word we're looking for. Liv, would you agree with that? That choice we have, that awareness we have between fear and love. And when that little child comes out and fear, that manifests itself in a certain way, and it's up to us, the higher self, as the lover, to say, I know, it'll be okay. Would you? Does that resonate with you? Can you relate to that?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's we shouldn't go from, oh, I was like that before, and now I'm like this, because we are so much, and we need to look at that duality and be, or yeah, the yin and the yang, because we're all, um, at least we try to be all balanced, as balanced as we can be. It's all about balance,
Yes.
in life.
Yes.
So if it become too extreme, you can also look at least in my experience, I have also seen, in the spiritual world, or those, wanting to look into that work can also be too extreme in a way, So it's all about balance for me. And what was interesting now, on the last gathering I was, when I met you,
Yeah.
we had this chakra dance one morning, and that was extremely interesting to feel into myself at that point, because I really felt that the inner masculine and the inner feminine power or energies were merging. We're merging into each other, and we need both.
Yes.
So we need so much. We need the doer, masculine power, and we also need the receiving feminine, to put it in shablon. It's not like that, but that's to pick one quality, maybe, that's the doer and the receiver, or it's the doer and the being. And to have both of them in balance, that makes such a difference to how you feel and how you act in the world, because yeah, you need both. Like you said, you need the dark, you need the sun, you need both, you need the balance. So and not to place ourselves in, oh, I'm in that category, that's me, in that category, because we are so much. And if we just open to that we are so much, we can have so much more rich life, if you don't start to limit yourself again after transforming. I was like that, but now I like that. You are endless, you're so much, and you can transform again, and you can change again, and there's just a continuation of the ride in a way.
Absolutely,
And
100%.
hang on to the ride,
Yeah, absolutely. And I align that with my ABC model, which you've used the word there, creativity. So that's the C. So the A is awareness. Everything starts with awareness, because we don't know what we don't know. Just because we don't know it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, obviously. So our starting point is, okay, we're going to go on a journey now. So I'm going to jump in my car and I'm going up north, or I'm going down south or east or west or wherever. But we can't really plot a course unless we know where our starting point is. And I think so many people, myself included, for many years got hooked up. Yeah, but I should be further down the line than where I am. Well, you're not. You are where you are. Accept it. And that's a great starting point. Yeah, but I'm 40 years old, and him down the road, he's got 6 Ferraris, and I've only got a bicycle. Beware comparison. And there's all this stuff. So the starting point and the acceptance, for me, Liv, is the awareness, because that is growing all the time. There's no right, there's no wrong. But I think the only responsibility we have to ourselves on that is to keep growing. The B, and this is the filling in the sandwich, really, is the beliefs, because they can either serve us or not. And I think that's key. And to give insights around beliefs, how they're shaped. We've spoke about this, haven't we, in this conversation, about your early experiences of, with your 2 brothers throwing the orange, and, this suppression and what have you. And that formed a belief system. I was kind of humorously, when you was talking there, Liv, thinking maybe as a parent, then knowing what I know, I would have done some reverse psychology on you and said, right, you will go to America, and you'd have said, no, I won't. Well, good, because I don't want you to go. But
that would have worked probably.
Yeah, that was, I don't know why that come into my head, but anyway. So the B is the beliefs, which is, as I say, the filling in the sandwich for me. But the key, Liv, for me, that unlocks all of this is what you've alluded to, the creativity, to step out of that conventional understanding, that conventional knowing, to embrace higher levels of awareness and think, okay, just because it's always been this way, because I've been told from an early age it's that way, that doesn't make it right. Why don't I go on a voyage of discovery and find out what my life is all about, me, not what you would like or believe or think I should do, but me. And it's probably, and I have this conversation with people in my family, sort of semi-regularly around, you know, the lessons I've learned as a parent, you know, because there is that kind of, there was for me anyway, with that need to control, that anger, that insecurity, that vulnerability. I wanted to control, I needed to control, but that was about me. And that letting go to say, well, you know, you may be my son, my daughter, my wife, my mother, what have you, but I don't own you and you don't own me. And it's about dancing in harmony together with our energies around who we really are, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think when I look at, you know, now I have decided to stop. I worked in the Red Cross for 25 years. It was a lovely, really a good job and a lot of interesting things. But it was just, for me, I was ready to step out of that system, you know, because it's a hierarchy. It's very, you know, you become like one part of a big system, and it's not freedom. And I long for that freedom. I think my little girl, when I started to listen to her, you know, it was freedom that came up. You know, she wanted freedom. And so I stopped, and now I'm self-employed, and I have all the freedom in the world. You know, I can really decide what to do, when to do it. And I'm so happy with it. You know, but my surroundings say, oh, but you used to have this position like that, and, you know, you were in that, and, you know, and what about your pension, and what about this? And, you know, it's really taking worries, you know, on their self for my life. And I said, you know, you don't need to worry about me. I am so happy with what I'm doing right now, because I'm doing nonviolent communication, you know, teaching people how to actually how to respond to their feelings in a different way that they used to, and maybe also be speaking to their loved ones, and even, or if they're teachers, speaking to their pupils in a non-violent way. And you can see how that really transforms the relationship, because when you speak about your own feelings and needs, and you speak about what you want, and without accusing the other for making you feel that way, you know, it's this way. And to teach that, it's so meaningful for me. It's so near to my heart. And so when I'm doing that, I'm in my full, you know, I'm just, I'm so happy. And so that's what I want to do. I want to do that, and I want to do my healing massage, which I do as well. So I have these two things that I do: dialogue, and I'm so happy. And I don't need that, you know, that position of being manager, or, you know, I need to really be doing these things that I love and that I feel meaningful, and that when I feel I can really, you know, be myself and talk from my heart, and that's, you know, so that's really you know, the transformation made it to another world where I have the freedom and I'm doing what I love. And what more can you expect of life, you know? That's really, yeah. That's
right. If I'm hearing you correctly, Liv, and please challenge me if I'm not, what I'm hearing is, because you mentioned the speaking word 4 times, and you also mentioned the heart word. So what I'm hearing is your progression from this fear, this anger, to where you are in this life of freedom now, and fulfillment and happiness and everything. Has that emerged as a result from speaking from your heart?
What again? How has it?
Has that emerged for you as a result of you now speaking from your heart?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. This has really. I'm speaking from my heart, truly, and I listen to my inner child. I listen to my young lead in a way, and I'm merging everything then into what I really, the experience I had from my life. But when I'm doing my work, I'm speaking from my heart, and when you speak from your heart, it it it's so powerful. It's so powerful. So people that I meet and I speak this, I tell about this, from the nonviolent communication, for example. It really, it really, for them, it really works, because it's like I'm not performing anything. I'm just, I'm just speaking my heart. I'm speaking from my heart, and that then you don't need to perform or to do something. It's just coming. It's just really coming in the way it should. So it's something very it's very powerful, and it's very soothing, and you really feel at ease with it. It's not something that you feel you need to prepare very much, or it's really coming easily, when you speak from your heart. So so that's a gift. That's a really it feels good. Yeah.
Just listening to you there, Liv, this is a note of humour, but I was listening there to you speaking passionately about speaking from our hearts. I thought, wow, this speaking from our heart stuff must be really good. I might form a podcast with that name one day.
You're so right, Paul, to do that. You're so right, because I think everyone has the passion. Everyone has something that they're here to speak or to do.
Absolutely.
And we can encourage, and you with your podcast, you can encourage people to really find that, to step out of that performance and someone else's wish for them, or what you want to please others, or what all of us have experienced doing, and to find that gold inside where you actually start speaking from your heart or doing from your heart. That's when the world can transform, because that's what when we all start to get much more peaceful, and we don't have to fight anyone. And that radiates. When you start speaking from your heart, it's radiating, and your light is much more strong and shiny, and that's when you start to actually influence. As I said before, I wanted to influence people, but from the wrong place. Now I am influencing people, but from my heart. And it's no performance. It's no kind of, plan, or how to say, it's not tactic around it. It's just pure passion and love. And so that's influencing.
Yeah. And that's speaking from our hearts. I mean, I hadn't planned to do that. I don't plan anything. If I turn up, I show up for and host a conversation, and it goes where it goes. From the top of this conversation, we agreed on, the focus of what you would like to talk about. You're the guest, and your message will be honoured, and your voice will be heard. So you gave it a working title, and we've ended up in this fascinating journey of discovery with this dialogue. So I hadn't sort of planned to say this, but I think it just feels right. And if it feels right, it is right. So I'm going to say this around speaking from our hearts. The 100th episode is coming up soon, and let me rephrase that. I'll be recording the 100th episode soon, so there might be a bit of crossover. But what's transforming with speaking from our hearts to get people's voices out there, and this nature, this healing nature of exactly what we've spoken about, Liv. There's now a Facebook group with the same name. Um, I am doing a book series where co-authors are invited in to tell their story. So if they don't want to speak verbally, they can speak through the written word, and that's I think. But and I'm also forming a Speaking from Our Hearts charity as well. So there is a global. I've got a global focus on this, and it's when we talk about fire, my fire within that, Liv, is my early years experiences that then led to decades of despair and darkness and depression and all these labels that I thought were mine because they'd been bestowed upon me until I had that realization that no, they're not. I don't want them anymore. It's not who I am. They're not defining me. And so there's this whole movement now unfolding, and it's gathering momentum quite rapidly. It's not officially out there. And I'm going to have to be careful here because obviously I've got this on a more sort of strategic, when you're putting something big together, you plot it, you plan it, you put the nuts and bolts in, and you get everything right as an engineer. What I love what's happening, the universe, she's coming along and she said, Paul, look, stop trying to control it. I'll show you how it's done. And that's what's happening. And that's what, So thank you for that inadvertent sort of intro there to Liv, Speaking from Our Hearts. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're so welcome. It's so important.
Okay.
Yes.
Liv, is there, if you could give, I always ask guests this because I think it's such a powerful, it puts you on the spot a bit, but I think it's such a powerful message for listeners and, from a guest perspective, and say, if there is one thing, and it's a massive question, but if there was one thing or one piece of advice or one message or piece of inspiration or whatever you could leave now with the listeners, what would it be?
Well, I will say, listen inside, listen and find your little child or your inner voice and start working from there. Start to listen really inside, and you need to be in silence or meditate or do something to listen because it's so much noise out there. Yeah. So it's not obvious. You need to really pay attention and be silent but listen and try to unfold your life from within because if you, as you said, the awareness and the being in the now and living from your heart is so much more fulfilling than any top position or big car or whatever you can see around in physical world. It's so much more, and we're all longing for that inner peace. And when we get inner peace, we will transform the world. That's inner peace creates other peace. You cannot do the other way around. And so that's my, at least that's my learning, and that's what I really would like to say to people, to find that space in yourself that knows, the knowledge is there, the wisdom is there. You just need to listen.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we've already said, Liv, there's so much stuff in the world. Just because we don't understand it or agree with it or know about it doesn't mean it's not there. I use the wind as a classic example. Well, what colour is the wind? What shape is it? I don't know. I can't see it. Also, if you can't see it, then it's not there. Oh, it's there. And I think that's that leap of faith that we take. Okay, what does love look like then? What colour's love? What shape is love? How does that feel when you touch it? Well, you can't. All right. Maybe we need to have a leap of faith then and say, well, if these two things that are very, very apparent in our lives, love, wind, I'm sure there's a hell of a lot more. Maybe we need that faith to go on a voyage of discovery and prod and poke and see what's out there. Because maybe, just maybe, we might find our true selves then.
Yeah.
Okay. Liv, that's been fascinating. So how can people get hold of you or contact you if they want to know more about you, the work you do? What's your contact details?
Well, right now I have only the email and my phone, but I'm working on a website and some other stuff that I want to tell. But I wanted it to be to really feel inside first, what is it really that I want to say, and what is it that I really do. And now I have that. Now I'm very sure of what I can, this is what I do.
Yeah.
But my email, you can maybe post. I don't know. You can put it somewhere.
Yeah,
It's
yes, we can, please, Liv. Yeah.
yeah, it's the easiest way. And also, I'm on Facebook and the Messenger there. It's easy to get to know me or to contact me. So far, it's these two places where it's easiest to contact me.
Okay, well, we'll put those details in the show notes, Liv, along with your bio. Do you want
Yeah.
to, for the benefit of the listeners here and now, do you want to give us your email address? Are you okay to do that?
Yes. Yeah.
So what is that?
So it's Liv, Liv,
Yeah,
dot Wronglan, and it's RONGLAN.
yeah,
And then it's at gmail.com.
yeah. Email.com. As I say, these will be in the show notes along with your bio. So liv.wronglan@gmail.com. And as you say, you're on Facebook as well. So, okay, before we sign off then finally, Liv, is anything else you'd like to add? I mean, I put you on the spot with that, what is that one message? Maybe, there's something else, a quick share that you'd just like to sign off with?
Yeah, well, I will just copy you. I think speak from your heart, because that is powerful.
Right. Well, I think after that brilliant plug, Liv, and you haven't been paid for that, by the way. Well, yeah, anyway. No. But yeah, I don't think there's anywhere to go from there, other than to say thank you to the listeners for being part of this, and keep loving, and be prepared to take that leap of faith to find the real you. You might be very, very pleasantly surprised as to what you find. So until the next time, I think Liv said it. Just keep speaking from our hearts.